team.
Hey there, this is Malorian, and this is the Orc Tactical Team, and we're going to talk about today is the Bretonnian Deathstar. Now, this has been a little bit upfront because in two tournaments recently, they won first. In my tournament, Battle of the Beasts, that was 3,000 points, and that was won by a Bretonnian player, and they had the Bretonnian Deathstar. For them, it was a big unit of Grail Knights, and actually 7 characters. There was a Fey Enchantress, who probably should have been a regular level 4, and then the BSB and 5 other paladins. Pretty crazy. Plus, in the one that Anthony just went to from the Sustainable Center, he was at the Crossroads GT, and that one was also won by a Bretonnian player running with a Grail Knight bus being led by characters in the front. And I thought this would be a good time to talk about saying, why is this list doing so well? And also, what can you do to fight this list if you ever come up against it yourself? Now, I think the first thing we have to talk about with the Bretonnians and why this works fairly well is, first of all, the whole idea of the lance formation. Now, with the lance formation, you only have to be 3 wide. So this is really reminiscent of the Ogre Kingdoms and what they can do with it. Now, for the Bretonnians, that means that, hey, I just need to have 3 characters, and my entire front is just characters. That's all it is. So if you want to attack me, it's only going to be on the characters. Now, normally Knights are not too bad, right? They got a good armor save. But then again, even Grail Knights are toughness 3 with a 2+ save. And sure, they have a little word save too. But, I mean, really, if you get attacks on these guys, they can die. All of a sudden, if you put characters in the front, though, now you're dealing with toughness 4, and who knows what armor save that might be re-rolled, and also a ward save. So it gets really, really tough. Now, the other thing that Deathstars in general usually have to deal with, let's look at the Ogre one, is, they might have their 3 characters for the front, and they have the bus, but there's not that many ranks. When we look at the Grail Deathstar here, you could actually have quite a few. I mean, you can looking at them where they could be as big as 12, and then you got the 4 ranks right there. If you have 3 characters in there, you're looking at 5 ranks. Any more, you could get up really higher. And really, this could also be a Deathstar based off of Knights of the Realm or something else too. So there are reasons why people go with the Grail Knights, and we'll talk about in a second too. But the big thing here is that you have a unit that's going to get in there, hit really hard, and you might take Steadfast away as well, right? Especially if you're dealing with some of these normal hordes, right? If you're looking at the horde of Savage Orc Biggins or the Black Orcs, although that could be a little bit risky, or, the Witch Elves or whatever, stuff like that, you get in there, you smash, you do lots of damage, and it's like, oh, you have, less than 6 ranks? You're not steadfast, you're going to break, and guess what? We're Knights, we're going to run you down. So, very, very dangerous stuff. Now, I guess we should talk about that Grail Knight contingent. Why are people taking the Grail Knights to be the bus? They're so expensive at 38 points. It is a lot of points to be spending on guys that are just your back rank guys to give your ranks. Well, they do give you a couple of things. One, a lot of attacks. Each of these guys are weapon skill 5, 2 attack, strength 6. And the thing is normally with a bus, the guys in the back, they don't really do much. They're just standing around giving your ranks. The Grail Knights, though, in Lance Formation, they're almost all attacking. Because, of course, you have the Lance Formation with the way it attacks, so that you're getting everything in the front rank, everything in the second rank, although the middle guy only gets 1 attack, and then everything going down the sides is also getting their full allotment of attacks, plus the mounts. So that works out to a lot of attacks and a lot of kills. So that's definitely a big part there. Another thing that could be a little bit nice is, sure, they have magical attacks. So let's say somebody's trying to hold you down with some ethereal. Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's probably a joke because, your heroes and stuff will have magical weapons. But yeah, those guys will just die. But I think another one, and probably the very biggest thing that you can have going for you here, is the whole fact where Grail Knights are immune to Psych. And that can be very big, because let's say you're going up against one of the armies where they're doing a leadership bomb or something like that. If you're immune to Psych, leave your tricks at home, fool. None of that stuff's going to work on us. So that's a really nice thing to have in your back pocket there. As well, they have access to a magical banner, which can be a fairly large size. So there's a lot you can actually do with them. Finally, another big thing you can do with these Grail Knights is that they can all issue challenges. So if you're getting to a spot where it's like, ooh, I'm up against like the Vampire Blender Lord and he might kill my heroes. Hey, Grail Knight, yeah, here you go. Yeah, go fight this guy. Oh, he died. Okay, Grail Knight number 2. Guess what? It's your turn. So that definitely is something that's really nice to have, and the reason why they're going to go with this. I'd say the final one too is just the whole idea where a big part of what this list works off of is just plain old points denial. This is supposed to be a unit where I got this big old thing, you're going to get 0 points from it, so you better hope you get some points somewhere else because it's not coming from here. Now, I think the next thing we got to talk about is a whole idea about what the Bretonnian characters bring to this. First of all, a very big thing that they bring is 2 characters that can have a 1+ rerollable armor save. So you got the Grommel Great Helm, you got the Enchanted Shield on the other one with the Dawnstone, and these guys are now going to have the 1+ rerollable save plus the reward save, and you're going to put those guys on either corner so that they're eating up the majority of the attacks and giving up almost nothing. In the center, you're going to have something really killy. And of course, one of the things you could do with the Bretonnians is, of course, they have the Heroic Killing Blow Lord. And that's a really nice thing to have because whereas sometimes for other Death Stars, you could go and throw in the Steam Tank or maybe a Demon Prince or something like that. It's like, well, I'm just going to kill this whole thing. Well, now it's like, well, poke, you're dead. So it's a pretty big deal. And, even if the averages aren't there saying like, oh, yeah, I'm going to Heroic Killing Blow you 90% of the time, even just having that threat in that Death Star says, hey, you stay the hell away or else I'm just going to kill you anyway. So a very nice tool to have. And then, of course, you can build anything else you want. I mean, with the Bretonnians, you have they're an old book, so they have lots of items. Some of them aren't all that great, but you have lots of items to pick from. You have all the items from the new book, and then you also have the virtues. Now, again, it's not like the vampire accounts where you have your magical items and your bloodline powers, and these are 2 separate pools. So all your magic stuff is coming from the same pool, but even then, it's so many options. Some of the things you can be giving to the other guys is say, hey, I'm going to be taking the item where I'm going to make it so all my horses are strength 4 on the first charge, so that we're going to be killing even more with this Super Death Star. Or another one that's really, really popular, that's going to be there all the time, honestly, is the one where I think it's the Virtue. I'm not going to guess what's the name of the Virtue because I forgot, but it's the one that gives you an extra D6 to your charge. And that is really big because you already have Brets that are speed 8 because you're not slowed down by your barding, and now you're looking at 4d6, drop the lowest. Yeah, these guys are charging across the board, getting first turn charges even, and it is very scary stuff. And of course, that means that they're going to be able to get in there, pick their charges, and do lots of damage, and then just get in there and start grinding. Now, let's start talking about the reason why they can grind. First of all, once they get in there, they're going to be winning the round that they charge in. There's so many attacks, they're going to win that round. Now, let's say they don't break because, it's 100 slaves or they're stubborn or whatever. If they get in there, well, all of a sudden, all you have in the front is all characters. And you also got the characters probably in the second rank or the regular guys, and you're just going to be grinding. You're just going to be grinding. Hell, even if you flank these guys, if they have enough characters, you can block down your flank there. Now, the big thing you're going to see is, of course, you're always going to have a level 4 life. You could go crazy and go for Lore Beasts and have like the Savage Beast of Horos and stuff like this and really get their characters killy. But the real big thing you want to do here is that you already have killing power. You need staying power. So you're going to have to see the Lore Life, and that means that, hey, oh, you did a wound here? I just cast one spell and he's completely healed up. Oh, you kill a couple of my knights with shooting? All right, I'm just going to raise them back up. They're alive now. Oh, man, I'm up against something that's really strong. +2 toughness, or if I have my throne off, +4 toughness. This is really big stuff, and if you're ever worried because, oh wow, I'm up against this, it's a horde of white lions, dwellers below, and all of a sudden now it's 20 white lions, right? It's such a perfect thing for that lore. Now, here's another thing. Normally, too, whenever you're dealing with the lance, with the level 4 in the middle there, you really have to worry about that miscast, because once you put down that template, you're hitting everybody, and your unit just disappears. Well, the nice thing here is that because you have these characters in the front, most of what you're going to be hitting is just going to be characters, so you're not going to be killing them. And then as you continue to cast spells, you can just heal those guys back up again. So again, it kind of protects you there. And then, hey, even if you do kill some, you don't really care because you can just raise them back up with your magic again. You're probably not going to break from combat because, you know, you might have the Stubborn Crown in there too just to be safe. So yeah, it is really, really hard to deal with. So another thing that you have going for them too is that level 4 has magic resistance 2. So when you put that on top of their 5+ ward, that means if you're ever trying to do death magic to these guys, right? Let's say you're trying to do death magic to whatever one, they can have their 5+ there. Depends on the strength. There's no strength. It'll be just the 6+ ward. But even then, that's going to go up to a 4+ ward against those wounds. And then if you ever have a key character, let's say you have a lord in there, you give him the 4+ ward, and then all of a sudden he has a 2+ ward against magic. It is, you know, you can really make these guys very strong. And so really, that's all they have to do. At the same time, Bretonnians have something else going for them. That's not really part of the Death Star, but it's something else that's really important to talk about, and that's trebuchets. One of the best war machines for their points. I have a hard time thinking one that's better. They are really damn good. And what you get to do with these war machines is deal with the threats that would actually damage your Death Star. So if they have a cannon, if they have a organ gun, if they have whatever, they're like, wow, I got to stop this from killing them. Those trebuchets can just pick those things off. And meanwhile, even if they get first turn because you pray or whatever, you can put your archers with your defensive stakes in front so that if the cannon hits those defensive stakes, it'll just stop and not get to the trebuchet. And the trebuchets have 4 wounds, so even if you do hit them with a cannon, you know, you're only destroying it half the time anyway. If you make the 2+ the wound, they are damn good. Plus, something else they don't want to really deal with is, say, monsters, right? Because monsters might be a little bit difficult for them. Like I said, they had the heroic killing blow, but if that doesn't work, you know, bad things could happen. Trebuchet, boom, there goes that demon prince, right? So they really, with those two things in combination, you're in a very good spot. Now, of course, when you're looking at the rest of the army, you're going to have those 2 trebuchets like I talked about. You still need some core, so if you don't base your Death Star around either the Knights of the Realm, you're not going to do Knights of the Errant because you don't want to take that chance that you have to charge and do something stupid. But that means you're going to have to take some core from somewhere else, which probably means you're going to need just to do, like, say, 1 lance, maybe 2 lances. You're going to have those archers as well to protect your trebuchets. And that's really it. And for the most part, they're probably just going to be picking on some flanks and mainly just staying out of the way because they're the guys where they might actually be losing points for you. So in this type of game where it's going to be point denial and getting in there and grinding with the one unit, you have to always worry about them going after that. So you're going to have to be a little bit careful. So it'll be really nice if you keep the lances small and maneuverable and just zip around. You know, of course, if you ever see good charges, get in there and wreck face. But for the most part, it's the Death Star's job to get all those points. So that's really what it is and why it does so well. Of course, I mean, if it's a mission or a tournament that's based off the 20-0 system, these guys get in there and just take out the heart of the army, gain lots of points. But really where these guys are even better are in the tournaments that are based off of win-loss, you know, major loss, blah, 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 saying, hey, you know, how many points did you get? 0? Okay, well, it's a major win for me, or it's a massacre win for me, or whatever, right? So, yeah, that's really why they're doing so well. Now, let's go to the other side and say, all right, Malorian, I'm facing this now. What the hell am I going to do? Well, the biggest thing to remember is that this is still a Death Star, and regular Death Star tactics apply. Get in there, try and minimize the damage this thing can do, and then work on everything else. So as this thing comes in at you, remember, it's going to have long charges. So hopefully you have some fast elements in there, like fast calves, something like that, where you can get out there and redirect it away, right? Trying to flee and trying to get them sent over somewhere else. Double fleeing is even better to really force them off to the side to make sure that they're not trying to redirect. If they don't have a lot of characters, let's say, well, they're going to have at least 4, right? There's going to be the 3 for the front and that level 4. But if it's possible, try and set it up so if you can bait it, hit it on multiple sides so that you can have it, okay, the guys in the front might not be doing loss to those characters, but on the flank, man, we're going to be trying to kill those Grail Knights like crazy and trying to shut these guys down. So if you can set that up, that'd be fantastic. As well, one of the things you can do is try and just slow these guys down, right? With those fast cav, with those throwaway units, just double fleeing, just trying to slow those guys down. And meanwhile, hopefully you have the tools to just be shooting at these guys. If you have cannons, if you have something like that that can really work these guys down, that is so, so important. First of all, because it'll make it so that if they have fewer ranks and fewer guys, that means they can't take steadfast away from you, and you can actually then hold on to a charge and be able to countercharge. The other part is really watch how many Grail Knights they have. This is always such a big thing that people usually forget when they're dealing with Death Stars, is that you just have to kill down to that magic number, and then all of a sudden they don't get lookout sirs anymore. So maybe, first round, if I'm a dwarf player, my organ guns are firing, my cannon is firing, everything is going at this unit just trying to kill Grail Knights. On my turn, or on their turn rather, I'm just trying to shut down the raise. I'm not letting you raise anything back up, and then on my turn, you look out characters, because my cannons are going to come right for you. And of course, you're always going to put it through the characters anyway, hoping that they fail that one lookout sir roll type thing, so you can try and nail those guys there. But otherwise, that's a really great way to try and get those points, especially if they have some of the more expensive ones, trying to get that level 4 out of there. If they do have a lord, trying to get all those points, because otherwise it'll be pretty hard to get all the rest of it. And honestly, once some of those key components go down, when you kill that level 4, when you kill one other character so that you can actually make attacks on the unit, its effectiveness goes way down. So really try and push and make that happen. Maybe you have death spells. Now, like I said, they're still going to have at least a 4+ ward against this stuff. Just go for it, man. Try and go for that BSB. Try and go for those important factors, because, if you can get enough in there and kill those guys, first of all, it's points in the bank, so cha-ching. But second of all, again, if they don't have enough guys to fill up that front rank, all of a sudden now it gets a little bit less effective, because you can make attacks on the actual unit and actually do some really good damage. So look for that as well. It probably will be a lot harder to kill the level 4 with death magic, because there's a better chance that they're going to act, well, they have 3 wounds as opposed to the paladins having the 2, and if there's a 4+ ward, it's probably there. So look out for that as well. Past this, another big thing you can try and do then is, of course, just ignore them, try and get them out of the way, and then look to the rest of the army, right? If you decide, I can't beat that army, then give up as little as possible so that you're going to redirect that unit, that Death Star. And remember, too, you have to be very careful with it, because characters can charge out independently. That can be really risky, because if they do that, you can then shoot them down with your war machines, but just be careful with that. Meanwhile, really dedicate and make sure you try and get on those other units very quickly and get those points. And hey, if you kill out the rest of the army, they kill a few of your throwaway stuff, if you're up by at least 100 points, bam, you got the win. So that's a really important way you can look at the game. Lastly, the biggest thing you should be looking at whenever you're against a Death Star is scenario. Because Death Stars are very bad at going after some of the scenarios that are based around holding key points. So, of course, the big one out of the main 6 rulebooks will be the Watchtower. And it's like, oh, you're a Death Star of Knights? Okay, good luck trying to get in this building, right? Oh, you have to start with some peasants in there. I'll just kick their butt, and yeah, you can charge all you want. You can just get off your horses, and whereas normally all you can do is attack characters, now you have Grail Knights that are hopping off their horses. They only have a 4+ save and only strength 4 because they can't use their lances while running up the stairs. So yeah, if it's ever Watchtower, so basically 1 in 6 times, this army is in a lot of trouble. Now, of course, the big shame is that a lot of tournaments don't run Watchtower. They just don't run that one whatsoever, so that might not be an option. However, a lot of other tournaments do other type of scenarios based around that where, let's say there might be 3 or 4 objectives scattered around the board. Well, a Death Star is really good at getting in there and holding one objective, but meanwhile, you can just go and try and hold the other 2 or 3. So really look for that scenario. Another one, too, that's common in the rulebook, of course, is Blood and Glory. And so for that one, whenever you're looking at this build, you're probably going to have the General, you're going to have the BSB, the Grail Knights are going to have a banner, and then there might be a banner or 2 from somewhere else. So really, you're needing to try and kill 3 of those points. So if there's 2 other lances, you got to get in there and get those points. Or if you can somehow try and, death magic the general, or try and do that whole snipe thing with the war machine, spending a turn killing the Grail Knights, and then the next turn where there's no lookout sir, killing the general that way, jumping into combat after, just doing everything you can to kill that BSB. All of a sudden there, it's like, well, I didn't kill the rest of your Death Star, but you're at breakpoint, so I win the game by massacre. So really look for that scenario win, and that's probably going to be your very first thing you want to do. Past that, try and find a way that you can redirect or deal with it if you have the war machines and kill the rest of this stuff. So there you go. Really interesting that we're even having this conversation, right? I mean, just a couple of months ago, we were saying, yeah, Bret's, we're not going to be talking about them for really competitive tournaments. But, I'm really happy to see that this happened. And there you go, an Orc Tactical team on the Bretonnians, and I hope you guys liked it. Bye.